What's happening, guitar people? Do a little rock and roll with some bar chords, some power chords, all that fun stuff this morning. Got my coffee here. It's the Monday after the 4th of July weekend. What a long weekend. It was great. I felt like we had a super duper weekend off with Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now here we are back to the work week, back to jamming, back to playing again. Just want to kind of tell you what I'm playing through right here. This is a relic guitar. I swore I would never have a relic guitar. I just thought they were cheesy and all that fun stuff. But I ended up buying this, piecing this whole thing together on eBay. This is called an MJT body, and it is a just a cool guitar. And I bought the neck off of MJT. I don't know if they really make these anymore, but it's patterned after what I call a 1966 Strat. And this is just a cool color. I like it. It's called Burgundy Mist. And love the rosewood. I used to like the maple strap necks, but I like the rosewood now. But anyway, it's got a vintage relic neck and body and everything. Bought the parts, custom shop, pickups, and the knobs and everything off of eBay pretty much. And I love the sound of it. And it was probably one of my favorite favorite guitars to play. So anyway, there you go. And I'm also playing through, which I know swear I would never buy, like a modeling amp, but I've got to show you this real quick. I'm actually playing through one of these guys right here, which is called the Spark 40. And I got to admit, pretty cool little amp there. It's a modeling amp, and I like it because you can get some pretty good tones out of it. I think I bought the Jimi Hendrix package or whatever for like $10 that they had on sale. And I don't know, I just to me, it gets hot here in the summer in Texas. And so I like to use as opposed to my deluxe reverb over here, which the tubes can kind of heat up in the studio and get hot. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about a song by the Ramons called Blitzkrieg Bop. And I wanted to kind of anytime I can interject a song with a style of teaching, then that's what I like to do. So I hope some of my guitar students can gather some information off of this. So anyway, we're going to talk about Blitzkrieg Bop and the Ramones. It's just a great, what I call a power chord song. Now, let's talk about power chords. Let's just jump in here right off the top. Power chords can be a 2-fingered chord, or they can be a 3-fingered chord. A power chord is not a major or a minor. It has to have the third. When we talk about major chords, they're triads. It has a 1, a 3, and a 5 in it, and it has to have that third in there. So we don't have that in these power chords. But power chords are great. We might be talking about some other songs as we get further into this. But let's just talk about what we're playing here. We're playing an A, a D, and an E, and those are the major chords in the key of A. There's 3 majors and 3 minors in every key, and I always like tell my students to memorize the 5 keys, A, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, and G, and memorize the 1, 4, 5s for all of those chords, and you'll be rocking. So anyway, with A, I have an acronym that says all dogs eat, but I can do them on my fingers too. A is the 1 chord of the key we're in. B, C, D is the 4 chord, and E is the 5 chord, okay? Now, A, D, and E. Now, what we need to do is, there's a couple things I want you to learn too. You've got to know this 5th string. You've got to know a 5th string, and you got to know, your 5th string and your 6th string. So, when I talk about the 6th string, everybody knows that's E. Everybody knows E, A, D, G, B, E. That's standard tuning. So here's my E. E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. B to C is a half step. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. I'm back to E. It's called an octave. You should all know that. Okay, some of this stuff's really basic, but I've got some new rock and rollers coming in here, some kids that want to learn how to rock, and they need to learn that 6th string, and they need to learn the 5th string, which is the A. A to B is a whole step. B to C, half step. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. And F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. There's an octave. So really when you get to the double dots, the 12 frets, there's a whole nother playing board here. So with guitar, we have this whole section right here, and then you can play the same thing up here, okay, if that makes sense at all. And we'll get into that later with pentatonic scales and stuff. But for the sake of power chords, what is it? How we're going to play it? Now, if you notice, the musical alphabet B to C and E to F were half steps, are only one fret away from each other. Everything else is a whole step. The way I remember that is I teach it by, if you think about Noah's Ark, remember when God flooded the earth and the rainbow appeared and it was like God's promise he would not flood the earth again? Well, I call this the rainbow rule. Why are there rainbows? Because earth flooded. B to C and E to F are half steps. Everything else is a whole step. Because earth flooded. B to C and E to F are half steps. Everything else is a whole step. So with that in mind, if you follow that sixth string or the E string up to A, E, F, G, A, it's right there on your fifth fret. And if you know that, that's the start of the alphabet, that chord, that note, sorry, then that's an A. Now, what's cool about knowing these 1, 4, 5s, the D or the 4 chord is just right below it and E's up a whole step. Now let's talk about power chords. I got my first finger on the low E and my third finger on the fifth. And I'm playing those two chords together. That's a power chord. Now it's a 2-finger power chord with the root and the fifth. Sometimes when you pull up musical charts, it'll say A5. Well, what that means is there's your A and there's your 5. I could play it down here as well. I could do just an A chord with my first finger, and I could just play the fifth and the fourth string here, and that's an A power chord right there, same as this. Now, this is a D, and this whole steps up an E. And that's what this whole song is just A, D, and E. Now, you really got to get this right hand going. If you want to, you can play just all downstrokes on this. Now, let's talk about what I'm doing here with the first finger. I'm laying it flat across the strings and pressing into the wood just on my fingertip. Now, I'm sorry, on my finger pad, right about here. I'm not getting up, we're playing open chords down here. We're up on our fingertips. Well, I'm playing bar chords. So I'm going to lay this finger kind of flat across the strings and then press in. I got my thumb back here. I call this the lobster pincher because the way my thumb is positioned pointing towards the headstock, okay? Then I got my third finger right here. And then what I'm doing is I've got these two strings I'm playing and the rest of them are muted. That way if I don't get it. That's another way to play. It's kind of a little easier for me to play it that way instead of... you can play it that way. It's cool and everything. But for the sake of playing the song and not just wearing all this out, I can go... That's kind of the intro right there. So let's listen to Blitzkrieg Bop and we'll talk about this for a minute. Remember, this is your A, your D is on the fifth string, and your E is here, okay? So real good example of using that sixth string and fifth string 1, 4, 5 chords to play a rock song, and there's hundreds of these songs. All right, let's go back to the beginning of this. Let's listen a little bit, play through it. So y'all get the gist of that Blitzkrieg Bop. It's a lot of fun to just play these little 2-fingered bar chords. Now we talked about 3-fingered bar chords earlier too. Just has a little bit more meat and potatoes. When I play a 3-fingered bar chord, I'm just taking my 4th finger now this time and coming on the 4th string, and now I have root, 5th, root of the chord. And that's just a little. Now, I'm sure that the Ramones are playing just 2 fingers there because they got it cranked up through their Marshall stack. But anyway, so I'm doing 2-finger, but you can do 3-finger too and go. The way I do that, I'm muting those other strings with that 1st finger. There you have it. Hey, also talking about the MJT and the grid amp, I don't get any kickbacks on any of that stuff. I just like playing this stuff, and I'm just going to show you what I'm using for gear. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good day today. Rock out with some bar chords. Find some good songs. Take care.